What's going on, everybody? Let's clap it up. All right. We're going to let some people get in here. I just dropped in straight live, like as soon as possible after the game to discuss what we just saw. I think I'll get into everything once we get, let's say, hopefully, we'll see. We'll set a little number limit or number amount before I hop too deeply into things. But this one is another good win. Really another good win for the Bears. They're all good. I mean, honestly, all the wins were good. I mean, you can't take nothing for granted. Every win you get in the NFL is a big win. You know, these things are not easy. And of course, if you're the Bears, you make all of them look even tougher, right? But for anyone that did not see, or depending on at what point in time you watch this this video, the Bears win again and improve to 8-3 on the season, knock off the Pittsburgh Steelers 31-28 at Soldier Field today. Interesting game. That's the best thing I know to say about this game. There's so much to discuss about how this transpired. In my opinion, and I'm going to get a little bit deeper into this in a second, but in my opinion, a very gutsy performance from the defense overall. Very gutsy performance. And you'll understand why I say that if you didn't see the game yet, if you go back and watch it, or if after you listen to kind of where I'm coming from, that I think you might also agree with the fact that this is a gutsy performance. Doesn't mean that it was beautiful, ideal, or anything to that nature, but this was still a very gutsy performance by this defense to come through the way they did today. And we're going to talk about it. Like I said, Bears win 31-28. I'm gonna look at what I would consider to be the keys to the game today, as well as the biggest takeaways for today. It was a lot, honestly, to take away from this. And I'm gonna start something this week as I do my recap. I didn't do the recap after the game last week against the Vikings, but I'm back doing it this week, and I'll be back every Sunday dropping them. And I'm gonna add we're gonna start calling these super recaps, as a matter of fact, because I'm going to get into a little bit more than, after we talk about the game, get into a little bit more of just some Bears talk after this. But first thing I want to talk about is something I want to call good Caleb, bad Caleb. And if you are a Bears fan, you have heard that term probably before in relation to our quarterbacks. Thankfully, good Caleb has a potential to be great. Like if we're going to go from, I still believe that at some point in time, we're going to have great Caleb, good Caleb, not good Caleb, bad Caleb. Right now, at this point in his career, we still have good Caleb, bad Caleb. And today was definitely a little bit of both, but I would say it was actually probably a little bit more bad Caleb than good Caleb. So he was 19 for 35, in terms of completions and attempts, 239 yards passing, 3 touchdowns. He had no picks, but I will tell you there was at least 3 passes that very much could have been picked. He only took 1 sack. It was a really big sack to take. Took a sack in the end zone, got stripped by TJ Watt, and the Steelers recovered the ball in the first quarter, and they took actually, I think it was the beginning of the second quarter. They took a 14-7 lead on that play. And it was just a bad decision for Caleb. Just if we're just being totally honest, a bad decision. A ball he's got to get rid of. He's got to get that ball out of his hands, or he's got to get out of there. He played the I can escape a sack thing a little bit too much. And against some of these big time athletes and great players like TJ, that's going to happen. So, but he did bounce back, and he made some plays in the passing game, put the ball on some guys, threw obviously 3 touchdown passes. One of them came on a free play after a Pittsburgh Steelers penalty. He hit DJ Moore. DJ Moore had 2 touchdown passes, 2 touchdown receptions today. The other one was to Colston Loveland. I thought Loveland was fan-freaking-tastic today. and every game he seems to be just getting better and better. But largely today, y'all, Caleb was worrisome level inaccurate today. Missed a lot of balls. And it's crazy because last week, all of his receivers dropped everything. The Bears had like 5 drops last week against Minnesota. They found a way to win. This game, Caleb struggled, and I thought with his accuracy, and they still found a way to win. So these are good. This is good stuff. To be honest, this is it's not ideal, but good teams find a way to win. Bad teams find ways to lose. The Bears are continuously every week finding ways to win, despite this person or that person having a good or just an okay game. So I definitely think we saw some good Caleb, bad Caleb today. And the hope is that at some point in time, he progresses to a point where bad Caleb is almost never there. I believe that that's coming at some point. I don't even know if it'll be before the end of this season. It may not be until next season, which I'm going to be honest with you, I'm actually fine with, because while I sit here and I root for the Bears every single week and I want them to win every week, I know that this is not the year, right? My opinion, and I've said this all season long, next year is the actual year. Next year is the year where you say, okay, Chicago can actually contend. This year is a building block year, and the right quarterback is here. He is. I don't love everything that he does. Sometimes things happen, even body language wise, I still don't like, but he is the right guy. He is the right guy. And I do believe it will all come together at some point. So the other thing I'm going to talk about is these injuries. This is the biggest reason why I say this was a gutsy performance by the Bears. The Bears won this game, and yes, they gave up a ton of yards on the ground. They gave up 186 yards on the ground. 56 of them came on a fake tush push that broke out. So that was kind of like a little bit of an aberration, but they still gave up a lot of yards on the ground. 186, so you take away the 56, it was still 130. If you think about it, they gave up 130 yards on the ground, except for that play, and the Steelers ran the ball 35 times down that play. So that's not a ton of yards per carry. So they didn't get destroyed as much per carry as they have in previous games, but it's still a lot of yards on the ground, and they still had a hard time just really stiffening up front. But it was a gutsy performance because the entire starting linebacker crew is out. We saw Ruben Hippolyte get hurt. At some point in time during the game, we saw Ogbongbemiga, I think I said his name right. We saw him go out for a while. He had 14 freaking tackles a day. DeMarco Jackson had 15 tackles a day. So 2 backup linebackers combined for 29 tackles, 7 total tackles. One of them had a TFL. I thought it was really gutsy performance. And most of the season, we haven't gotten a pass rush. And we're going to talk a little bit more about this guy later today. But Montez Sweat had one of the best games. I got to go back and look. Today might have been the best game in Montez Sweat Bears career. Like he was a true factor out there today. So that was a gutsy performance. But the injuries, man, I just don't know how many more weeks we're going to be able to get by with these, the way we're decimated. We got to get somebody back next week in the linebacker core. Whether I know it's not going to be Tremaine Edmonds. I think he's got to be out at least 3 to 4 weeks because he's on IR. TJ Edwards, I'm not sure about. Maybe Noah Sewell. Hopefully Hippolyte, who is already a backup. The Bears might even have to find some sign of veteran. If there's a guy floating around who's played in Dennis Allen's system that is not on a team right now, they can sign off somebody's practice squad, something to get some depth. But DeMarco played pretty good today. I thought he was solid today. I thought Ogbongbemiga was good before he got a little banged up. I do believe he came back. So just a gutsy performance through all those injuries. My next point was Ozzie Trapilo. Ozzie Trapilo started at left tackle, and not a lot of people talked about this, but I can't wait to see what Pro Football Focus's grade was on Trapilo today. Now, the Bears didn't run the ball fantastic today, usually, and they had been running the ball really well. But I thought they held up in pass protection really well. I thought Caleb did not find himself in escape mode nearly as much as he had been in previous games. I thought that Trapio, Donner Wright had some slips here today, but I thought Trapio was great on the left side today, stepping in for Theo Benedet. So much so. Now, we did run the ball well, and we'll have to see what his run block grade was. But from a pure pass protection standpoint, man, I thought he was fantastic. And a lot of people obviously didn't talk about that. We'll wait to see what some of this all-22 tape says. But I thought that he was really solid today. I really did. And his name wasn't mentioned anymore after like the initial drive of the Bears they had this day, where, when they announced that, if you didn't know, that Benedet wasn't playing. But I thought he was great today. So that's encouraging. And I'm going to tell you the reason why that's encouraging. This is something we're going to talk about a little bit later. It's encouraging because if the Bears don't have to draft a left tackle or don't have to spend heavy on a left tackle in the offseason, that's going to save a ton of money to go after, and even a roster spot to go after in the draft to fill in some of the issues that they have on the defensive side of the ball. If they can say, hey, we think we might have both of our tackles, that's going to be tremendous moving forward. I would love to see him get an opportunity to start again next week against the Eagles, and we'll see what happens. Eagles game is a scary game, mostly on the other side of the ball, but because I think this Bears offense can score against anybody. But this is going to be interesting what happens. Also really liked how much we used Luther Burden today. Luther Burden had how many receptions today did he have? He had 3 receptions for 46 yards. He had 5 targets. I thought he was a threat the whole time. He had a 19-yard pickup. Like I told you, Colston Loveland was great. 4 catches, 49 yards. He had a touchdown. Rome had 9 targets, but we only connected with him 3 times. All of that, for the most part, from what I could see before we look at the all-22, I thought all of that was on Caleb. He missed him a lot, man. He missed him a lot. But 3 catches, 53 yards. DJ Moore had 5 catches for 64 yards on 7 targets. He had the 2 touchdowns. DeAndre Swift only caught 1 ball. DeAndre only had 9 touches today. I think this is the first game of the season that both him and Monangai have been healthy, and Monangai got more touches. So I'm interested. I don't know if that's a shifting of something in the guard or whatever. But a lot of people have called for Monangai to get more carries than Swift, and we saw it today. And Monangai averaged 4 yards per carry and had a touchdown run, which I'm happy about because it's on my fantasy. So yeah, that was an interesting look. We saw Luther Burden completely leapfrog Olamide Zaccheaus on the depth chart. Burden, not only did he play, I'm sure he played more snaps, but he had 5 targets. Zaccheaus had 1 target. He caught it. It was a 6-yard catch. Durham Smythe had a catch for 4 yards, and Cole Kmet had just 1 target, and it was a 3-yard catch. But he did. I thought he did well blocking. But I've said earlier in the season, as much as I love Cole Kmet, I definitely think he is a guy who could get moved. Now, DeAndre Swift, I believe his carries were dropped today because he had a fumble. He had a costly fumble, and I think that was big. I appreciate you. I see you there, Bears Capo. Ozzy Trapio, man, we have a left tackle definitely in him. I'm hoping it helps us a lot if we do, but DeAndre's fumble, I think, was probably the biggest reason that we didn't see more of him. But let me go back to what we were looking at, my breakdowns for today. Next was I cannot, as much as I dogged Nahshon Wright earlier in the year, I would not be a man if I didn't step up and talk about how good he has played the last 2 weeks. I mean, last week he had some slips, but he made some big plays. Today he just, again, have to look at all 22 and see some plays maybe that he missed. But in terms of impact plays, 2 passes defended. He had a big time interception, almost had another one later in the game. He is really getting to the point where he's understanding how to use his length. He has crazy, ridiculous length for the cornerback position. He's 6'4", it's about 200 pounds. He's thin, probably could use to get a little bit stronger. But man, he played his buttocks off today for sure. And this was, were it not for the game that Sweat had, I'd have to say that Nahshon was I think probably the MVP of the game. I just thought he was great. He matched up with DK Metcalf, didn't allow Metcalf to go crazy. Just one thing about Deshaun Wright, if we were to relate him right to like a baseball player, and if you're a baseball fan, you'll understand what I'm saying with this. But Deshaun Wright is like the hitter in a lineup who feast on third, fourth, and fifth starters in the rotation. You pitch a third, fourth, and fifth starter in the rotation against Deshaun Wright, he's going to go 2 for 4 with a 2 RBIs and maybe a dinger. That is the translation, right? When he's going up against a a mediocre quarterback, like where JJ McCarthy is right now and what Mason Rudolph pretty much always has been, seems like he has a fantastic day. And I think I think that's what we saw. When Caleb started being more consistent down the field, we're going to be, yes, I couldn't agree more. The consistency down the field, and that's kind of where I was going with when I said good Caleb, bad Caleb. Had to get some water there, but I totally agree. I totally agree with you there. Now let's go back. Montez Sweat, huge game, y'all. I mean, I got to look back. I'm going to take a look right now, and I'm going to look at like all of the games that Sweat has had as a Bear. And I don't know if he's had a game like this season. So he had a game against the Giants. He had 1.5 sacks. That was definitely a big game. 2 quarterback hits, a TFL. Let's look at last year, because I still think as good as that game was, it wasn't as good as this game. So let's look at last year. I don't recall a game. Maybe I'm tripping. No, he never had a 2-sack game last year. He also had a forced fumble. Let's not forget that led to a score. No, man. I mean, the most QB hits he ever had. He had a 3 QB hit game in the Fail Mary game last year against his old team. He had 3 QB hits. He had 1 sack that game. I still think this game was better. So I really think we just witnessed the best Bears game, the best game in Montez Sweat career as a Bear. I don't know if it's his best game, period. I don't know about that, but definitely he didn't have a better game last year for the Commanders, or for the Bears, he didn't have a better game. It's definitely not his best game of his career. Against Cleveland in 2023, he had 2.5 sacks, 3 QB hits, 7 total tackles. So yeah, that was a nasty game, 2.5 sacks. But they lost that game. That doesn't mean he didn't have a great game, but they did lose that game. And I think he might have had, he had a couple games, other games he had a sack and a half. But I don't know, man. As far as the Bears are concerned, though, that was Sweat's best game. He was a threat the entire game. He was a problem the entire game. And to be honest, he could have had 3 sacks because he had Mason Rudolph dead to rights on one, and Rudolph's a big guy. I don't know how many people realize how big Mason Rudolph is, but he just shook Sweat off on one play. Mason Rudolph, 6'5", 235. This is a big dude. And so he got away on that one, and it would have been 3 sacks. And game probably is over at that point, even earlier in the day, earlier in the fourth quarter. But he got away. I thought Grady Jarrett was decent today. Finally, he had a pass defeat, batted a pass down. He started to help tighten up the run on the inside a little bit. So I thought that was good. I got to call this out. It wasn't a key to the game, but it was a point of the game that drove me crazy that it didn't cost us anything. So people didn't focus on it too much. But when Montez Sweat gets the sack on Mason Rudolph and strips him and causes the fumble, Gervon freaking Dexter, instead of falling on the ball, falling on it, he's trying to scoop it. Where are you going, bro? Like there was nowhere to go. And in the process of him trying to scoop it up rather than falling on it, he literally almost cost us not getting that fumble recovery. And I'm like, dude, what are you freaking doing? Like that would have been such a big play to a degree if he didn't, if Montez Sweat ends up recovering the fumble that he forced, which is huge. But if he doesn't, That's just a big play that your teammate made. And because you want to do something ill-advised, you literally almost cost us that. And the Steelers would have, if we didn't get that ball back, the Steelers would have still been in field goal range. And that changes things. Fall on the ball, big fella. What are you doing? That drove me crazy. Thankfully, it did not cost us. All right, run defense, like we talked about a little bit earlier. The Steelers ran for 186, but 55 of that came on something like a trick play to Kenneth Gainwell. So I don't count trick plays against your run defense quite as much because it's not traditional run defense. The Steelers set up like they were going to tush push. They didn't. They hand the ball off, and Gainwell got to the outside. Gainwell's nice, though, man. He is one of those guys, when he got the ball, he makes the defense nervous because he's wiggly, he's powerful. I like him. I like him a lot. But I don't count that as much. So you take that 55 yards away. They ran for 131, 35 carries for 131. What is the average on that? Oh, that's not it. Why is mine? I guess it's telling me I should just do my own math here. 3.74 yards per carry. I'll take that. It's not a stifling run defense, but I'll take that. And when you consider how undermanned we were at linebacker and just how traditionally bad we've been against the run all year, I thought this was one of the better run defensive performances, to be honest. Steelers just try to cram the ball down the Bears' throat the whole game, and they didn't really ever completely break. And, of course, at the end of the game, came up with enough plays to get the victory. But all things considered, that's what that was. Now, my last point, y'all, I'm going to be honest. I got to be 100% real with you about this here. I'm trying to tell you, Nick McCloud, I'm a backup drummer too. Y'all do what I'm trying to say. Nick McCloud, I think that I can get down in my stance like this. I think I can get down in my stance, Nick. And I think I can hit you with a double move, and I'm pretty sure I can beat you. Nick McCloud got to be the worst cover corner in America. Forget America. Northern America. This side of the world. Earth. The universe. I think I can get down in there. I think I can get down in there and get him. I think I can get him. That's how bad he is. The only time the ball goes in his direction and there's an incompletion is if the receiver falls, Nick trips him, or the quarterback just throws the ball straight to hell. There's not going to be a pass defense. There's not. He is really bad at football. There is no way in the world. There's not another gentleman on the practice squad, on somebody's practice squad, who can do at least what he's doing. It's really bad. I'm trying to tell you, and he always got a look on his face like he don't really understand what happened. Neither do I, Nick. Neither do I. I don't understand either. Dude, I'm trying to tell you, bro, he's bad. And he's so bad, I had to give him a bullet point on here. That's how bad he is. Unfreaking believable. I hope this young man works at his craft. How old is Nick McCloud? I got to check. He's 27. This is it. This is what it is, y'all. It ain't going. This is it. This is Nick. This is Nick. Like it or not, this is Nick. We got to do something different. We can't. Kyler Gordon, somebody got to come back. Jesus, somebody, because this ain't going to work. I'm just trying. I had to let you know. I had to say it. I really did. But we got to move on, right? Like, so we talked about the Bears. I'm happy. I'm happy about the victory. I'm tripping on Nick a little bit. I'm laughing, but serious. For real. I'm not lying. Everything I said that's what it is. But next week, Philly. Yeah, it's gonna be tough, y'all. It's gonna be tough. As I'm speaking to you right now, they up 7-0 on Dallas. How'd they get that touchdown? Touchdown pass from Jalen Hurts to A.J. Brown. Looks like it was a 16-yard touchdown pass. A.J. Brown already got 3 catches, 31 yards. I know he has been upset. He was targeted 3 times in the first drive, it looks like. So they definitely were making it a point to get him the ball. But the run game obviously has got to be of a major concern. One of the greatest running backs of this generation and one of the better running games overall is coming to town. Saquon Barkley's not having a Saquon Barkley-like year yet necessarily. I mean, he's having a good year. 662 yards on the ground coming into the day, 4 touchdowns, 175 carries. He's only averaging 3.8 yards per carry, so he's not having that kind of game. But overall, we know they come to run the ball. Hey, don't look now, but the Browns is up 13-0 on the Raiders. I literally thought about starting Shedeur Sanders today. He's 4 for 6. The touchdowns have come on the ground to Quinshon Judkins. I just had to say that. This is crazy. 4 for 6, 77 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. Sacked 1 time. We'll see what happens. But I almost started him over Pat Mahomes because, but of course, the Chiefs won in overtime today. But Mahomes, from a fantasy standpoint, has been struggling. He didn't have a great game today, except for he went for 352 yards, but no touchdowns, and he threw a pick. So that's what that is. But Eagles next week is going to be a tough game. We already know that. Both of these teams have really helped each other throughout the entire season. The Bears have swept the NFC East, and so they've done the Eagles a favor, and the Eagles have done the same thing, beating the Lions, Vikings, and the Packers. So now it's time for these two teams to go head-to-head, and we'll see what happens. But I think that it's on the road, obviously. It is on Black Friday, I believe it is, at 2 o'clock. So, man, we got a short week coming up. Bears play literally in 5 days. This one's going to be big. I'm a realist, y'all. I'm a complete realist. I am not one of those Bears guys that's going to always tell you, oh, this is this. I expect to lose this game. I do. Like I keep trying to remind people, this is not the year. Next year is the year. I'm going to root like crazy and want the Bears to win. But the logical person here says, I expect them to drop that game. It's not a game I expect them to lose next year, but it's a game I expect them to win, to lose this year. Does that mean they're going to lose? No, doesn't mean that. Doesn't mean that at all. The Bears have proven they know how to win. They also, the offense, I think this offense can score against anybody. But with the amount of injuries that we have on the defensive side of the ball, it's a frightening game. It really is. Now, I do believe the following week at the Packers is a game we can win for sure. It's a game I almost kind of feel like we should win. I just don't. The Packers are not overwhelmingly. The Packers don't scare me this year at all. Like, it's not, Green Bay's coming. They just don't really scare me like that. I think that's a game we can win. But the Eagles game, I expect to lose that game. We'll see what happens. I hope I am pleasantly surprised, but that's what I expect. But it's a couple of things that came up to me during the game today. And I started thinking about this. And I said, and I want to ask everybody, anybody who's watching this, and I'm going to do a breakout video of this particular question and the next one. But I got a question to you guys. I'm going to pose it to you, and I want you to tell me in the comments what you think. But at this point right now, where would you say Caleb Williams ranks as in terms of from an all-time standpoint from when we're talking about Bears quarterbacks? Now, we're talking about a guy in his second year. And for most franchises, that's a ridiculous question, right? Most franchises have some great quarterback to look back at over the time period of the team's history. You're like, well, of course, the dude, this is only his 28th game of the season today. Of course, he's not. What would you expect him to be? But with the Bears, because of our team history, that's not a stupid question. It's not, because, and you want proof that it's not a dumb question? You want proof? I'm going to tell you something right now. Coming into this game today, do you have, I wonder, I would love to hear like guesses of, unless you just automatically already know, right? Where do you think Caleb Williams ranked when it comes to all-time passing yardage on the Bears list coming into today? Where do you think he was at? considering that today was his 28th game in the NFL, where would you say this is where I think Caleb ranks? Because for most franchises, I mean, he'd probably be 50th or something to that effect, especially one that has been around as long as the Bears. But coming into today, Caleb had 5,870 yards through 27 games. Now through 28 games after this win against the Steelers, he has 6,109 yards on his career. Do you realize that today Caleb Williams passed George Blanda to go into 16th place all time with a pass or two more? He would have passed Rex Grossman and been in the top 15. With maybe one more pass, he passes Vince Evans and been 14. So if he continues with pretty much the pace he's had all year, by the end of the Eagles game, he will probably be 12th all time, because he'll pass next week. He should pass Rex Grossman, Vince Evans, Mike Tomczak, and Rudy Bukic, who is well before my time, that I've never heard of before today. And I am a Bears freaking savant, and I hadn't heard of Rudy Bukic until just now. But he will pass all of those guys almost certainly, because Rudy Bukic has 6,254 yards, and he did that in 59 games. Caleb's about to play his 29th game next week, and he'll be 12th all time if he just does essentially what he's been doing most games, which is about 200, 250 yards. He'll pass him there. I'll also tell you this: touchdown passes. Caleb came into today's game with 33 touchdown passes. He now has 36 touchdown passes. You know where that ranks him? He passed Jim Miller today. Jim Miller he passed several people. He passed Rex Grossman, Mike Tomczak, Bob Avellini, Bernie Masterson, and Jim Miller. And now he is 13th in Bears history from a passing touchdown standpoint. That is where he is. I appreciate you, Beanie Man, so much. Can't tell you how much I appreciate you, brother. He is this. So we're talking about a dude in his 28th game who is already 13th all time in passing touchdowns for his franchise. So I don't think a lot of people realize when you say how attainable it is for Caleb Williams to be considered the Bears' best quarterback within a relatively quick time, right? So I wanted to preface that. So Bears Capital said he thinks he's already number one. Beanie Man says without so many drops he has had to deal with, he would be even better. I have seen some of the worst drops I have ever seen just this year. You're not lying, especially last week. This week was more on Caleb. Last week, the receivers, all of them had hands of stone. They were all Roberto DeMaran out there because nobody could catch. So, but this week was a little bit more Caleb. And if Caleb puts a couple balls on people this week, everything's different. So those are the things I want you to consider. Now, the downside for Caleb in this argument is the completion percentage. His completion percentage is well under 60%. We all hope and believe that will be better, right? He's on pace, I believe, to throw for 3,968 yards this season, which if he does do that, that would set the Bears single season record for passing yards. Now, that does come with an asterisk because that's his pace for 17 games. The person who is number one in Bears single season passing record, a lot of people probably, unless you have studied these stats, you probably wouldn't even guess this. Eric Kramer had the most prolific passing season in Bears history. In 1995, he threw for 3,838 yards, 29 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. That was a Ron Turner offense, if I remember correctly. Eric Kramer was a dog that year, y'all, and the Bears had a really, really good offense. They were 9-7 that year. They could score some points. But that's number one. Now, and Jay Cutler threw for 3,812 yards in 2014, and he missed the game. Caleb Williams' season last year was the fifth best season from a passing yard standpoint in Bears history. So I ask again, I ask again, where do you rank Caleb Williams? Put it in the comment section. Now, I am going to tell you where I rank Caleb Williams, my personal, at this point. And I will preface this by saying, by the end of the year, this could change. But right now, my top 5 Bears quarterbacks of all time, and I have been alive, I'm an old man, I've been alive to see all of these guys. Number 1 is Jay Cutler. Jay Cutler still, in my opinion, is the best quarterback in Bears history. This can change, and it will change. I firmly believe it will. My number 2 quarterback in Bears history is Jim McMahon. Jim McMahon was a winner. He was a smart quarterback. He was nowhere near as dynamic athletically, and had the arm talent that Jay Cutler and Caleb have, or even that Justin Fields has. But he was a freaking winner, and he was a leader. He was the best leader at quarterback in Bears history that I've ever seen. And that offensive line, that team would have run through a wall for Jim McMahon. And he wasn't a bad passer. Like, he wasn't a horrible passer. McMahon's best passing season, and you got to remember this was a different time, and they leaned a lot more on the run game. But McMahon's best passing season was only 2,486 yards, and that was in 1992. Bears wasn't even I'm sorry, that was in 85. No, I'm sorry, it's 2,392 yards, and that was 85. That was the year we won the Super Bowl. He was 11-0 in that, and he only played 13 games that season. So if he had played the other 3 games and when he got hurt, and if he had all started both of those games that he didn't start, he probably would have been really, really close to 3,000 yards. Because back then, 3,000 yards was the benchmark for a really good passing quarterback. Now it's more like 4,000, 4,200 is when, okay, this dude really was slinging it this year. But Jim McMahon is my number 2. I right now have Caleb at number 3. Now, I will say, I do think that Caleb Williams could be number 1 by the end of this season. And this is not all statistically based. And me saying him being number 1 is not saying that I think he'll be perfect by the end of the year. But you don't got to be perfect to be the best quarterback in Bears history. You know, you ain't got to be perfect. He's on a pace, especially with some improvements as we move through this season. He could be, by the end of this season, the best quarterback in Bears history. If he's not the best quarterback in Bears history by next year, there's a problem. Something has happened in the development. That's how low the bar is for the Bears as a franchise, but that's how high the ceiling is for Caleb. So this is the best of both worlds if you're looking at Caleb in this standpoint. Now, just for kicks and giggles, my number 4 is Eric Kramer. I think he is the most underrated quarterback in Bears history. And number 5, I would put Justin Fields. And I know that there's been Jim Harbaugh, there's been Sid Luckman, who's had Mitchell Trubisky and all of those guys. I saw all of those guys play except for Sid Luckman. And it's hard for me to give somebody that played in an era that was so different than what we see now to give them much of a credit. I mean, I really believe if Justin Fields played at the same time Sid Luckman played, he'd been the greatest football player ever lived. I mean, because the amount of times that they ran, the arm talent that Justin has, the defenses weren't nearly as significant as they were. You put Justin Fields in the backfield, you put Justin Fields as a quarterback for the Bears during Sid Luckman's time, he would have been the Michael Jordan of freaking football. That's how ridiculous that would be. So I can't put somebody like him ahead of Justin Fields. And I don't know how many people realize this, but Sid Luckman threw almost as many interceptions as he threw touchdowns. 137 touchdown passes in a career, 132 picks. So, like I said, the bar was way different at that time. But those are my top 5 Bears quarterbacks. Like I said, I would love for you guys to hit up the comment section. Let me know who your top 5 is. Where do you rank Caleb? I would love to see that. Now, my last subject today, I'm excited, if you couldn't tell. I don't think this is the year for the Bears. I'm going to root like crazy for them every week. But I've been a journalist for 17 years, covering the Bears, covering combat sports, covering almost every sport you can think of. And so while you guys see the fan talking, the analyst is always there, the journalist is always there, and I got to look at things logically and realistically. Next year is really a more logical year for the Bears to be a serious contender. A lot of these wins are really feel-good wins, and they're fantastic. If you are a Bears fan, they're exhilarating. But a lot of the ways that we are winning is not sustainable in the playoffs. It's really hard to win consistently when you can't get a pass rush. It's really hard to win when you are running guys out at secondary that are the level of Nick McLeod. That's tough to continue to do. You're not going to beat great teams in the playoffs when those are your issues. Jalen Johnson comes back, Kyler Gordon comes back. Yes, our defense is better, but we still are struggling to get consistent pass rush. Our tackles are not doing what they need to do to stop the run. The good part about that is I think that our focus areas are very clear, which brings me to my last point. I think we have clear needs in the draft right now. So I'm going to give y'all all some homework or some follow-up stuff that you can do in case I'm about to drop some stuff on you that you haven't heard about before. To me, the number one need for the Bears is defensive tackle. We need somebody who is going to instantly upgrade the run defense with their presence. And we also need somebody who can get pressure up the quarterback's face. I think a guy in the middle that can get pressure up the quarterback's face helps the edges become more effective. It helps Montez Sweat. It helps whoever ends up on the edge. Now, I'm going to throw 5 names out here, and that's only the first position in need. But I'm going to throw 5 names out here that I think Bears fans should have an eye on in the draft. I believe that of the – how many people am I about to name to you guys today? Of the 23 names I'm going to drop, I can almost guarantee you at least one of these guys will be a Bear next year. So let's talk about defensive tackle. By most accounts, and some people may disagree, but by most accounts, the number one defensive tackle in the draft right now, or expected to be in the draft, is Peter Woods from Clemson. Clemson's interior line, in terms of just what they have been able to do from a pro prospect production standpoint, has been really impressive over the last 5 years. And I think that Peter Woods has the potential. He looks like he could be one of those kinds of players. Also, we have Amari Washington. These are names that if you get a chance, take a look at them. The guy I like the most is Caden McDonald from Ohio State. I love what Ohio State is doing defensively, especially up the middle. Obviously, everybody knows about Caleb Downs, but I love Caden McDonald. I think Caden McDonald is the defensive tackle that I want the most. I look at the rankings, I see what people say, but I look at what I see when I look at whatever video I get a chance to watch. I don't get a chance to look at all 22 for college players, hardly at all. There's only so much time left in the day. But I just kind of watch how guys pop off the screen. I look at the measurables and I see it. Who does he remind me of? Just visually looking. I like Caden McDonald a lot. But then there's also Caleb Banks from Florida, and then there's Kristen Miller from Georgia. I think I'm looking at the draft to build the Bears up on defense more than free agency. Now, if we had not swung and missed on Dayo Odeyingbo and essentially swung and missed on Grady Jarrett and already allocated that money that way, if we hadn't already done that, then I would be like, okay, yeah, let's look at free agency. But I think there's already too much money tied up in misses there. And now we got to dig down and we got to let Ben Johnson and even Dennis Allen here, because I like what Dennis Allen has done with the defense, considering that he doesn't have all the pieces. I like what he's done. And I want to see them be able to draft guys that they feel fit the system and the culture. I love Caden McDonald. Now, my second area of need for the Bears is at edge. Now, I would have said that was my first area of need maybe 2-3 weeks ago. But I really like the way Montez Sweat is playing. And I think he's really getting comfortable with Dennis Allen's system and with his staff. I really like what I'm seeing. So I got it second. Now, it's still a high need, but I have it second. The guy that most people will say is the best edge rusher expected to be in the draft is Ruben Bain Jr. I haven't seen him play a lot. That he plays for Miami. I haven't seen him play a lot. I kind of hear now. The guy that I've seen that I think really that to me pops is Mateo Uiagalelei for Oregon. Explosive, nasty. I love the motor that he has as a pass rusher. I don't know if he's a double-digit sack guy, and that is essentially what we need. But I love the way that guy plays. Another 3 names from an edge standpoint is Keldrick Falk from Auburn, David Bailey, Texas Tech. I have seen him play. I like him. The Texas Tech pass rushers, though, to me, have been underwhelming. Now, every person's different, but they've been a bit underwhelming to me. But Cassius Howell is another one. He's in Texas A&M. Next, and we're dropping it down in terms of what I think the value or the real biggest needs are. I look at the inside linebacker. We don't have a bunch of depth at inside linebacker. Tremaine Edmonds has been playing great this year. He's also getting older, and his contract is freaking humongous. Look up how much Tremaine Edmonds is making. I forget what it is, but I think Bears got a ton of money sunk into him. So he is, to me, a potential cap casualty or somebody the Bears might even try to move. And it's not because he hasn't played well, but it's just because there's a lot of money sunk into him. TJ Edwards, I think, is a free agent. And I just don't love Noah Sewell. I don't think he's played the same since the concussion earlier this year. I thought he started to play a little well, and then after the concussion, I've noticed, to me, what I would say is a regression. But Arvell Reese, and when you're gonna think I love Ohio State, and I like Michigan more than I like Ohio State. I don't really hate any college program. I used to hate Notre Dame, but I don't even hate Notre Dame anymore. I realized I just didn't really like Lou Holtz's whole tenure, but I don't really hate Notre Dame anymore either. But you think I love Ohio State, but Arvell Reese is nasty, y'all. I'm talking about Arvell Reese is the kind of dude that I'm telling you, if the Bears had to trade up 4 spots to get Arvell Reese, I'd be with it, because I think he is a identify your defense kind of a guy. I think he can come in and have a Roquan Smith-like impact on this team, on this defense. I think if you have him plugging gaps, I'm telling you, if the Bears' top 2 picks in the draft this year is they take Arvell Reese in the first round and then double back and get his teammate Caden McDonald to play defensive tackle, that is definitely a successful offseason and a successful draft in my eyes. But there's another inside linebacker for Ohio State, Sonny Styles. People like C.J. Allen for Georgia, Jake Golday from Cincinnati, and Anthony Hill Jr. from Texas. Not as familiar with them, but I love Arvell Reese. My next one, I got 2 positions left. Offensive tackle. Ozzie Trapillo helped me drop this. Ozzie Trapillo helped me drop this position down, because I'm starting to wonder if he can play left tackle. If he can play left tackle, the Bears don't need a tackle drafted high. They can wait to the 4th or 5th round to pick a tackle. But Caleb, apparently, if you play Utah, you don't got a good chance to get to the quarterback. The top 2, by some people's account, the top 2 tackles in the draft are Utah guys, Caleb Lomu and Spencer Fano. I haven't seen those guys play. I readily admit that, but those are 2 names that, as we move towards the draft and people start to look at who the Bears may pick, these are 2 names you have to consider. The one I know is Caden Proctor for Alabama. Alabama offensive linemen, generally, it feels like a hit because Bama runs the ball all the time. Usually quarterbacks are not highly under duress in Bama. That's just a tradition there. But he's the only one that I really have ever really seen play. So I'm going to have to do some homework looking at Caleb Lomu and Spencer Fano to see if I see what other people are seeing. My last position, and some people may have an issue or think that I'm tripping when I say this, strong safety. Jaquan Brisker made the play that won the game today. Made the play that sealed the game. But I think that barring a high level of maturity for Jaquan Brisker, which is possible, there are areas of your team where you have to snip to get cheaper. And you ask yourself, where can we afford to do that? Now, Kevin Byard is obviously much older. He's having a fantastic season. But what I really love about Kevin Byard is he is an absolute leader. And I think that you always need a leader type on that third level of your defense. To me, that's Kevin Byard. That is not Jaquan Brisker. And if I have to compensate, or if I have to trade off somebody from this particular safety group, I want to bring Kevin Byard back. I want to help him let him be a mentor to the young safety that I'm going to draft. And I want to be able to play both of those guys on my third level of my defense. Now, everybody knows Caleb Downs is top safety in the draft. Bears are not going to get him. He's probably going in the top 5. That's just probably what it is. But take a look at a guy like Emmanuel McNeil Warren for Toledo. I haven't got a chance to see anything but highlights, but I love what I see. AJ Halsey from LSU, who I have got a chance to see, I like. And I also like Bray Hubbard from Alabama. If you can't tell, when I watch some college football, it's a lot of SEC. Dylan Thieneman from Oregon. So I saw Uiagalelei, but I did not, for whatever, I didn't know to look for Dylan Thieneman. I think it's Thieneman. I didn't know to look for him, but I don't remember things happening to pop. So I'm gonna have to do some research on him myself. But those positions are the ones that I think the Bears really need to focus on in the draft, and those are the names. So I'm gonna be looking at those names, especially starting now as we look into next season and into the offseason. And hopefully I gave y'all some names that y'all can check out as well. But that is all I got for you guys today. I appreciate everybody that came through and stayed with me. Pretty much every Sunday, we're going to do what I call a super recap. We're going to go over the Bears game, win or lose. We're going to talk about what we saw. We're going to talk about what I think were the keys to the result. And then I'm going to talk a little bit some more what I would call evergreen Bears topics, like the draft and like things like Caleb Williams and where does he rank all time in the Bears quarterback list. But I appreciate everybody watching. As always, special shout out to my man Beanie Man. Really appreciate you coming through, bro. I love that. And Bears Capital as well. Consistent guys. Y'all always are down with Bear Down Brian, and I never take it for granted. God bless, and everybody, peace.